What's up everyone, welcome to Director Discovery and I am Nicholas Klein Lee. Today I'm going to be reviewing this, the Lume Cube Edge Light, and I'm going to be comparing it to the ever so popular Elgato Key Light and Elgato Key Light Air. Anyway, let's get into it. So for the longest time, the Elgato Key Light has been dominating in illuminating live broadcasts and video calls. But because of its steep price, Elgato decided to come up with something cheaper, the Key Light Air. The Key Light Air is obviously not as large as the Key Light, and the panel itself is actually smaller than the Key Light, and it's actually not as bright. But because of how successful these two products are, a lot of companies are starting to come up with products very similar to this. And Lume Cube is the latest company to pretty much copy this, with a few exceptions. And Lume Cube itself is a company that is very popular for coming out with its portable lights for cameras and drones. So they do have the technology of coming out with nice light. Anyway, I contacted Lume Cube and they gave me a comparison about these two lights and I'd like to share it with you guys. Anyway, let's open this up and see what this has to offer.
The Edge Light comes folded up in a small box. Inside you'll find only the light, the AC adapter, a manual, and a 10% off code. The thing that makes this light so special is the many different pivot points it has, allowing the light to move in pretty much whichever direction you want.
So as you guys can see, the Edge Light is actually really cool. It's very maneuverable. You can put this pretty much wherever you want because there's 5 different pivot points and you use this as a lamp and everything. And it's very easy to control because it's very light. It's a lot lighter than these two lights. It's like 3 times lighter than Key Light. And to turn these on, there's 4 different soft touch buttons here. And you can actually change the color and the brightness of the lights just right here. Whereas the Key Lights are just at the back. And to change the brightness and the color of the lights, you actually have to download the Elgato app, which pissed the hell out of me because it took me forever just to connect the light's Wi-Fi to my phone. And for some reason, the app didn't work on my iMac. I don't know, it just pissed the hell out of me. Anyway, another cool thing about this is that there's a USB-C and a USB-A port right here so you can charge your phones. And another thing I really like is that the output for the AC adapter is just right here. So the cord would just hang at the back and you can't really see it. Whereas the Key Lights, they're at the top where the light is. The Key Light Air is better because there's a track at the back so you can kind of hide the cord. Whereas the Key Light is just gonna dangle right beside this pole. But there's some things I'm kind of worried about this because for some reason Lume Cube doesn't tell you how many lumens this light has. A lumen is like the measurement of how bright the light can get. For example, the Key Light is 2800 lumen. This one, the Key Light Air, is 1400 lumens. So another thing I'm worried about is the panel because the panel is so small. It's even smaller than the Key Light Air. It's like 2 times smaller than the Key Light. And honestly, the larger the panel it is, the nicer the light will be, the softer it will be on a person, and the quality is a lot higher when the light panel is larger. So I don't know how this is gonna turn out. The smaller it is, like I said before, it's gonna be like a spotlight. So imagine like a very small hole and the light shines through it. It's so small that it's just a dot on the wall. So it's just might be like that. I don't know, but let's test these out right next to each other.
So guys, as you guys can see, this is my usual gaming setup. I'm usually looking this way. And as you guys can see, my lighting is actually a bit yellowish because majority of my lighting in my room is a bit yellowish. So I need a white light staring at me so that my quality will be a lot better. And I'm sure one of these lights will do. So let's put them together side by side and do a comparison. So of the 3 lights, guys, I think I personally like the Key Light Air the most. I like a bit of shadow. Maybe if it's a bit brighter, it would be better. And if the panel is a bit bigger, it'll be better. But I really like the Key Light Air. The Key Light is very bright and it's very useful and you can still adjust the brightness and it is a bit softer, but for that price I'd rather pick the Key Light Air. But the light that surprised me the most is the Edge Light. The Edge Light is so bright that when I put it right next to the Key Light, it seems like it's even brighter than the Key Light. But because the panel is so small, it does seem like it's more of a spotlight. So using it, you do have to squint a bit. But if your room is really dark and you do want that lighting, this is a good option.
So as you could see, all three of these lights work wonderfully, especially this edge light. It's so good. I love how bright it is, and I love how light it is, and I also love how that's a desk clamp instead of a mount. This actually takes up so much room, but I gotta say there is something I don't really like about it, is that this thing does heat up. So after like 2 hours of use at its brightest setting, this thing started getting hot. After like 5 hours, it was actually burning quite a bit, while these two lights were completely fine. So if you're a streamer, I wouldn't really recommend getting this. But if you're using it for work or just live video calls, and you just turn it on every now and then and not setting it at the high setting, this might work even better. So this is something to consider, especially because of the price. This thing only cost $120 US. That's around $150 Canadian. Whereas these two, the Key Light Air, cost $130 US. But they sell it in Canada for $180 Canadian. Whereas the Key Light sells it for $200 US, and they sell it up here for $300 Canadian. I don't know why Elgato does that, but there are a lot of benefits to them. You can connect them to the Stream Deck, as well as if you don't mind dealing with the Elgato app, then yeah, I would recommend getting the Elgatos. They are actually really good, but seriously, Elgato, that app is screwing up with my other Elgato app, the sound capture app, so I have to re-download everything just to try to fix it. It's really pissing me off. Ugh, Elgato, please fix it. And even their website, just trying to log into the Elgato website is pissing me off because it takes forever to load. I don't know. Anyway guys, I would recommend it for a lot of people, especially if they're just working, not streaming. But guys, check this Lume Cube Edge Light out, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it's very beneficial to you guys, and please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you'd like to follow me on my journey to discover more random products, places, and restaurants, then please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.